So back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, Glass Onion, Obla Di Obla Da, Wild Honey Pie, the continuing story of Bungalow Bill, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Happiness is a Warm Gun, Martha, My Dear, I'm So Tired, Blackbird, Piggies, Rocky Raccoon.
The three animals.
Yeah. Why Don't We Do It in the Road?
No.
Is that wrong?
Yeah.
After Piggies, let's see, what did I miss? Oh, Don't Pass Me By.
Mm-hmm.
Don't Pass Me By. Why Don't We Do It in the Road? I Will, Julia, Birthday, Your Blues, Mother Nature's Son, Sexy Sadie.
Nope.
Helter. Is that not right?
Nope.
Oh, wait, let's see. Birthday, Your Blues.
After Mother Nature's Son.
Mother Nature's Son. Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except Me and My Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Sexy Sadie. Helter Skelter. Long, Long, Long. Revolution 1. Honey Pie. Savoy Truffle. Cry Baby Cry. Revolution 9. Good Night.
Damn, he did it.
I had a couple hiccups in there.
Why are there so many songs on that album?
There's
What a
30.
dumb album.
There's
Jesus.
30.
Welcome to I'd Buy That for $1, a podcast about inexpensive, common, and underappreciated records that are waiting to be rediscovered. I'm your host, Sean Hartman, part-time Googler of outdated slang terms.
What were you Googling? Be honest.
I can't tell you. It's foreshadowing.
Oh.
You'll find out only if you keep listening to the rest of this episode, Jeremy.
Consarn it.
Fine, I'll listen to the rest of the episode.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. I'm co-host Jeremy, and I just sold the rights to my new podcast, guys.
Oh, no.
Not this one, but a new one.
A new one. This is a new upstart.
Is it a better one than this? Be honest.
No, it's really bad.
Okay.
I sold it to Podify, which is like a new up-and-comer for another company. And it's called the Jeremy Ruggles Podcast. We talk about eating bugs, and we smoke some weed, and I list my World Cup conspiracies.
Nice. Bro, have you ever done DMT?
Only for the Podify.
Just for the fans.
I wonder if there's actually a thing called Podify. There probably is.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know whether or not you were joking.
Yeah, they paid me $84 million.
Well, shoot, we should get in on some of that.
Oh no, this is for my podcast mansion.
Not
Our podcast mansion will be a separate mansion.
multiple mansions.
Yeah.
That's
I don't want to be around you guys all the time. You're weird.
all right.
Old multiple mansions, Jeremy.
Yeah, we want to be around you and eat bugs and smoke weed and talk about World Cup conspiracies all the time. So feelings mutual, bud.
I got a great podcast just for you.
All right. Well, I am co-host Peter Cook, the director of a forthcoming documentary called Singing About Evil Women, where we explore the fact that there are more songs called Evil Woman than there have been actual evil women in human history.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, interesting theory. I like this.
Huh.
What we kind of determined that most of these evil woman songs are about one woman, Margaret Thatcher.
Ooh.
Take
Sing.
All of the evil women were either Margaret Thatcher or Henry Kissinger in disguise.
Yes, have you seen this documentary? I didn't.
That's my favorite YouTube channel.
Well, we are not here to talk about an evil woman today.
Yes, actually we are, aren't we?
Well, I mean, there is a song that we'll be talking about called "Evil Woman." We'll be featuring, but I didn't get the impression our featured artist is evil.
Are we talking about Santana today? Who are we talking about?
Is Santana evil? Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Oh, wait, no, he did Black Magic Woman, not Evil Woman. I guess those aren't necessarily the same thing.
And then he had the song, You Gotta Change Your Evil Ways. So you're
Right.
probably conflating two Santana songs.
All right, we figured it out. Also, I actually know who we're talking about today, and I wrote an elevator pitch for this album. We don't normally do this, but I just figured why not? You guys want to hear my elevator pitch for this record?
Yes.
Okay. Mary McCreary is an immensely talented artist who is unfairly remembered as a footnote of more popular artists' careers, and her album Butterflies in Heaven is a minor masterpiece that deserves to be counted amongst the greatest debut albums of the 70s.
I'm intrigued.
All right. You want to hear the first song then?
Yeah.
Do go on.
Side 1. Track 1. My Soul is Satisfied.
By Mary McCreary.
Walking down the street with my head up high. I'm looking up, but you just can't figure out why. I hear somebody singing sweet by and by, 'cause my soul is satisfied. I'm reaching in my pockets, but not finding a cent. My lights are turned off, but I can't pay my rent. Wait a minute now, I'm not worried, 'cause my money's already spent. Well, my soul is satisfied. Oh, money isn't everything. I just want to play and sing. That don't cost me nothing, nothing. Ooh, no, no, no. My soul is satisfied. Soul is satisfied. My soul is satisfied. Ooh, my soul is satisfied. Oh, don't you envy me now. Don't you envy me. Your bills are paid and you don't have peace of mind.
For me, that's just the perfect way to kick off an album. I'm just like instantly hooked from the first song. It's got that gospel influence. It's got that awesome dynamic range of the vocal styles, some interesting chords, really good backup vocals, which, by the way, is Mary McCreary doing the lead and her own backup vocals. on that
I was going to
song.
ask if that was all her. I mean,
Yeah.
I know she had experience in the backing vocals department, which we'll get to later. But yeah, I had no idea she was so capable of phenomenal lead work as well.
Yeah. And I would say her doing her own backup vocals is actually kind of a staple of the Mary McCreary sound. And we'll get into that more as we go. But I love the string section on that song as well. And for me, that's also one of those songs that kind of just keeps getting better the farther the song goes, you know, and just like it builds and then it gets funky and it's just, man, it's perfect. I'm ready to go once I hear that.
That grabbed me right away as well. And after a couple listens, I think it's my favorite song on the album. I like all the things you said, plus there's that funky breakdown and anti-materialist lyrics, which I can get behind, and sort of like a message about social class and
Mm-hmm. Probably the best lyrics on the album too. I would say like
yeah.
the lyrics are maybe one of the weakest parts of this album for me, but that song is the total package.
Oh, I thought there were quite a few good lyrics on this album. I wasn't super into the religious stuff that comes later, but that's more of a personal thing. It's not the
quality is still
Yeah, the quality is still good
there.
in my opinion, but to each their own.
To each
Yeah, it's
their
a
own. Well,
pretty strong album across the board. I've only listened to it a couple times, and it was all just today because this is not easy to find digitally online.
no, this is a not on Spotify exclusive. This album is not out there. It's not in the digital world very much.
Yeah,
It's fairly cheap. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily plentiful in the dollar bins, but if you keep an eye out, you'll find a copy here and there.
and it is under McCreary and not Mary Russell.
True. So Mary McCreary is probably best known for the Leon Russell connection. They were married for about 5 years, and she changed her name to Mary Russell, and they recorded 2 albums under the name Leon and Mary Russell. And their first album, the Wedding album, is everywhere. That is a record that is truly ubiquitous for dollar bin heads.
Yeah,
In fact, I initially was going to do the Wedding album for this episode. That's one that I've loved for a long time. It was the first place I heard Mary McCreary. But then the more I thought about it, I didn't want to take away any of the very much deserved spotlight for Mary. I didn't want to have to figure out how to split an episode between her and Leon Russell. And obviously Leon is a prolific and important enough artist to get his own episode later on, but I want to talk about Mary first. So here we are. And I think this album, her first solo album, Butterflies in Heaven, is better than the Wedding album, even though the Wedding album has a couple really strong songs on there.
her vocals on the Wedding album are much more ethereal and textural than the work that featured here.
Yeah, and the Wedding album, it's very uneven. There's a good handful of songs that are just not good. And the more I was listening to it and looking at it, the best songs on there are the ones that are co-written by Mary. And it's kind of weird that she wasn't more involved in more of the record. And just the more I listened to it, I kind of started to develop this theory that the Wedding album would have been better if Mary was truly an equal input on that one. And honestly, even though it would seem that Leon Russell did her this, gave her this huge spotlight, it kind of feels like he might have been holding her back, at least musically. Because this album is written, arranged, and co-produced by Mary. She is way more in control on this album, and it's a much stronger record as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did notice that she wrote every song on it.
Yeah, I think there's 2 co-writing credits, maybe 1 cover, something like that. But yeah, she's the one in charge on this album for sure. You know who else really liked that song we just listened to? Melba Moore.
Ah.
She did a cover of My Soul Is Satisfied on her 1975 album, Peach Melba.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Previously featured artist, Melba Moore.
Yeah. And I could definitely see how their work that one would admire the work of the other.
Yeah, for sure. And Mary kind of seems like that your favorite artist kind of person. Background singer of note, probably met a ton of people, but just never got that, mainstream stardom for whatever reason. So, Peter, how long have you been familiar with Mary McCreary / Mary Russell and the Wedding album?
Yeah, I've known her as Mary Russell because of the Wedding album. In looking into the story of Mary and what she's done in preparation for this episode, I realized I've been listening to her for a lot longer than I've known her name.
All right, so I've got a little bit of a story of how I came to be a Mary McCreary, Mary Russell fan. Working at the record store, I don't remember what was going on that day, but I remember it was a particularly stressful day, and this woman came in and was buying some records and talked to me about stuff and asked me if I'd heard Leon Russell's The Wedding album. I was not a Leon Russell fan at the time. I was no, I don't know that one. And then she gave me one of those what? You haven't heard The Wedding album? How could you? Which is just one of my least favorite responses ever. When someone asked if you've seen something, it just instantly makes me want to never ever listen to or watch that thing that I'm being obnoxiously judged for right now. And that's pretty much what happened in that situation.
So I'm sure you did not check it out right away then.
No, I think it was probably a few years before I was like, okay, fine, this is a good album. Yeah, and I remember this one was like, oh, you have to buy it now and take it home and dance around the house with your wife. Are you married? Everything about it was off-putting. And then when I finally did play this album for Sam, like a few months ago, I think we got 3 tracks in, and Sam was like, can we listen to something else?
When you listen to the Wedding album?
The Wedding album, yeah. I bought the Wedding album, got into it, and around the same time I actually bought this album, Butterflies in Heaven, not realizing that it was the same person. In fact, when I bought Butterflies in Heaven, in my head, I was thinking I was buying the Mary Clayton record. Just like, 2 Marys, 2 70s soul singers, and then put it on. I was like, wait, this isn't what I was thinking. And then started looking up. I was like, oh, this is Mary Russell. That's cool. And just kept going from there. Listened to her other material, learned about other bands she was in.
Did you have any familiarity with her prior to Sean saying this was his selection, Jeremy?
No,
Are you at all familiar with like Leon Russell?
only from you and Sean talking about it.
Mentioning him in previous episodes.
Yeah.
All right. You got a lot to learn, just like probably many of our listeners. So how about another song before we dive into that bio?
Yes.
Do it.
This is the much featured, famous track on this album, Evil Woman. We're looking at side 1, track 5.
I'd like to talk to you about an evil woman. Evil woman, evil woman, evil woman, evil woman, stop your wicked ways. Evil woman, evil woman, oh, evil woman, stop your wicked ways. Oh, there are some women who will take a man's love and leave him nothing to give the other woman. Yeah, but you make it hard on me when I try to do him right. He thinks I'm just like you, so he's giving out no more love. Evil woman, yeah, evil woman, stop your wicked ways. Well, 'cause you're a heartbreaker and a love taker. You're a mind shaker and a home breaker. I mean, stop it, don't stop it now. Hey, evil woman, stop your wicked ways. Well, 'cause you're a heartbreaker and a mind shaker. You're a love taker and a home breaker. I mean, stop it, oh, quit your stuff. I said, evil, stop.
That is a jam. And I was just looking at the credits on Discogs here for that. And I see that it's, I see Mary on lead and backing vocals, but also piano, which I did not realize until just now that she's also providing that.
Yes. Mary is playing the acoustic piano on every track on this record. There's only a little bit of other piano happening, and those are other session players. But yeah, she's the real deal. Singer, songwriter, amazing pianist. She got it all.
Yeah, I see that one was co-written with someone named Lawrence Hill, who he also has one other writing credit. One of the songs on here, he contributed solely. I couldn't find any information on who that is. I don't know if you...
No, I didn't find much either. And the one song that he wrote solely is probably my least favorite song on the album. So
Mirror, the final song.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mary's doing most of the creative work here, and yeah, it's a pretty varied album too. I was very surprised to see that it was basically just one person writing the majority of it.
Yeah, and believe it or not, her follow-up is even more varied. She has like a reggae single on there and like more rock overtones and even more production. Like there was a lot going on in the musical world of Mary McCreary.
I noticed a lot of swing kind of rhythms, like triplets and stuff, that made me think there's probably some jazzy influence in there. I don't know if it's from Mary or the players or what, but it's definitely some jazz going on.
Yeah, that and, those gospel chops. The gospel circuit has been famous for creating some of the greatest musicians for a very long time, and she was fully in that world, as we will shortly learn. So let's just dive into this bio real quick.
Yeah, I'm curious what you were able to find on Mary.
Yeah, I guess I should say that real quick before I go into the info. It was very hard to find information on Mary. There's not a whole lot out there. There's no interviews that I could find, written or recorded. It doesn't seem like Mary was really into the spotlight very much. I don't know if that was just circumstances or a personality thing or who knows, but yeah, information was very fragmented, and I had to kind of patch stuff together from different places to get an idea of what her full story and career was. But there's so much, that could be enlightened at points. There's a lot to her story that has just never been talked about and maybe never will. So I'm going to tell you all the information I could possibly find and shed some light on this wonderful overlooked artist. Mary was born February 8th, 1951 under the name Mary Rand. And do you guys have any guess of where she grew up singing?
In a church.
Yes.
Do we have to guess like which sect?
I didn't even look it up. I don't know. Again,
Okay.
There's not a ton of information. That's too specific.
I know we do a lot of guessing games, so I thought it might be a fun
You were
guessing
primed
game,
for a game, yeah.
Yeah.
Grew up in church. Say what you will about Christianity, but it has produced some of the greatest musical talents of the last few decades.
Yeah. Every good singer we talk about, it seems like.
Yeah, pretty much. Mary made her recorded debut at age 10. She can be heard singing on a 1961 children's album by folk group The Limelighters called Through Children's Eyes. And in 1963, so she is like 12 or 13 at this point, she forms the gospel group The Heavenly Tones, along with friends Vet Stewart, Alva Mouton, and Tremaine Hawkins. They can be seen performing on an episode of the Maya Angelou show, which I didn't even realize was a thing, but you can find that on YouTube. They do a few different songs. It's really good, and Mary is the one singing and playing piano.
Yeah, I watched some of that. You sent that to Peter and I, and yeah, the singing was bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this really weird production thing where they're belting it out, like pouring their hearts out, and then it stops and there's not like a live audience. It's just like silent.
Yeah, it's a weird energy on that episode, but the performances are just electric. They're incredible.
Yeah.
Extremely talented, especially because they were all like early mid-teens at that point. Just nuts. The Heavenly Tones released a single and LP in 1966. The LP was produced by Reverend James Cleveland, who, if you're not familiar, is probably one of the biggest names in gospel music at this time, or really all time. In 1967, Tremaine Hawkins left the group and went on to become a Grammy award-winning gospel artist who is still active today. And she also sang backup on one song for Butterflies in Heaven, so they've remained on good terms ever since. So now a trio, the Heavenly Tones, also started working under the name Little Sister and began singing backup for Vet Stewart's older brother, Sylvester Stewart, and his new band,
Sly.
The Family Stone.
Sly and the Family Stone.
That was a group effort between Jeremy and I.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd say "and" though, Sean. But
Oh,
that's
damn. Okay. Well, I think we got it.
Yeah.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, he'll clean it up. Our editor, he works wonders, I tell you what.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
It's funnier this way. Right, listeners?
So as Peter alluded to earlier, Mary can be heard on early Family Stone records, and you can also see her on some live footage, including their 1969 appearance on Dick Clark's American Bandstand.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing she sang backups for others as well, correct?
Yes, she got more into freelance backup singing after leaving Sly and the Family Stone in 1971. So she's not on every record. I don't think she's on There's a Riot Going On, because
my research told me otherwise, but
Really?
I can't say for certain. I'm sure you dug deeper than I did.
well, it was very hard to tell on the timeline of some of these things and like what she worked on and didn't. So it's possible she continued working with Sly Stone later than 71, embarking on her.
Is this album is 71?
This album is 73. She had been working on her own for about 2 years before this, mostly doing backup vocals and like studio work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, There's a Riot Going On is 71, so sounds like it's right in the time frame that she broke free.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe she wasn't there for the whole session for that album, but
There were a lot of
she
people
was.
involved in that session too.
yeah, from what I understand, that was a pretty chaotic time in Sly and the Family Stone. So not everybody really even knew what was happening at any point during that time.
Yeah, they some of them weren't their best selves, let's say.
Yes.
They created the best album, though.
One of the greatest albums of all time, for real.
Real talk.
Real talk. So, as I said, not a ton of info. My best guess is that around the time when she started working with Little Sister and Sly and the Family Stone is when she would have changed her name to Mary McCreary. I think before this, she was going under Mary Rand when she was in the Heavenly Tones. And my best guess, without finding any proof anywhere, is that this was most likely just because she was working with secular music at that point. And as we've talked about before, there can be a lot of pushback and stigma around a gospel artist crossing over into the secular world. In 1970, in between the albums Stand and There's a Riot Going On, Sly Stone was given an imprint on the Atlantic label called Stoneflower. They only released 4 singles, 2 of them being by Little Sister. There was a push at that point to kind of launch them as their own group. The singles got attention from radio DJs who even flipped one of the 45s to get a third song in rotations. There was excitement. People liked the songs. They're really good 45s. However, the records just didn't get enough promotional effort. Atlantic dropped Stoneflower after the first 4 singles, and I imagine probably wasn't pushing their material very hard. And Little Sister just was never able to take off on their own. Mary was replaced in the backup group when she left, and they kept going as the Sly and the Family Stone backup singers, but never launched their own separate career, unfortunately. Then we said 1971, Mary begins working as a solo artist, mostly as a background session singer at first. And then in 1973, her friend DJ Rogers helps get her signed to Leon Russell's Shelter Records. DJ Rogers, if you're not familiar, is an artist that is well worth looking into. His records aren't cheap, but they're definitely underappreciated and worth seeking out.
I saw he was on this album.
Yes, he is the actual producer and co-arranger of this record and does background vocals on one song, I think.
Not to be confused with DJ Shadow.
DJ Rogers and DJ Shadow, the 2 most confused artists of all time.
Real talk.
This album was recorded at Leon's new Shelter Church Studios in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which, as the name suggests, was a former church that Leon had purchased and converted into a recording studio. This studio was a really important part of Tulsa's music history and was a destination for those seeking an authentic roots rock sound during the mid-70s. It has been recently restored and is currently a functioning recording studio once again.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've brought you up to the Butterflies in Heaven section. So I think I want to just actually talk about the lineup real quick before we play another song. The lineup on this record is basically the same as the one that worked on DJ Rogers' self-titled debut album that also came out in 1973 on Shelter Records. So this is a band that is pros and also has a lot of experience working together in this exact lineup. So that gives you a lot of the chemistry and sound and groove that's happening on this record. These are top-notch guys. So we said You got Mary McCreary leading the charge, doing all the piano, lead vocals, most of the background vocals, but we also have some super heavy hitters. First off, Chuck Rainey on bass.
Yeah.
One of the greatest bassists of the era, or any era, played with Aretha Franklin, Quincy Jones, Steely Dan, the Crusaders, Roberta Flack, and many, many more. The man is a true legend.
He was on the Cheryl Lynn album that we did.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, he has that great story of working on Steely Dan Asia, the song Peg. They told him not to slap, and he was like, this song needs slapping, and he just kind of turned their back and started throwing some slap bass in there so that they couldn't see. He turned his back to him, and yeah.
As if you can't hear slapping bass.
Are you slapping over there, Chuck? Nope.
No.
Subtle. Yeah, he's like, that's what this needs. Yeah, he's a legend.
There's a great episode of Questlove Supreme interviewing Chuck Rainey and Bernard Purdie at the same time. And in talking about players from this time, both of them had nothing but the highest praise for the guitarist on this record, David T. Walker. I believe the quote was that they said that he was truly special. Like, he was the guy to them that stood out amongst the crowd of great guitarists of the era. And I got to say, for my money, he might be my favorite guitarist of all time. David T. Walker is absolutely incredible, and I love his work on this album.
Well, you're consistent. That is not the first time you've claimed that on this podcast.
Yeah. He's so good.
Radio.
He's got those little melodic flourishes that he does that I've just never heard anybody replicate. He has just such a distinct sound, great ear, wonderful dynamic. He could back people up, and he had a bunch of really good solo records too, which, as I'm sure I said last time, we will feature one eventually.
Yeah, was David T. Walker on the Cheryl Lynn episode or the album as well?
I think he was. We've mentioned him a few times.
So I think Jeremy thought of Radio.
Oh, I was just thinking Sean claimed that Ray Parker was the best guitarist on that episode.
Oh, that's why you were saying, because okay. I
was
see.
calling him out subtly.
I see. See, I was like, well, wouldn't Ray Parker have been the guitarist on Radio? But
yeah,
I see where you're going.
Did I say he was the best, or did I say he was my favorite?
Oh, good question.
Mm-hmm,
There's no way we could know, so we'll just move on.
On drums, you have either Andy Newmark or Scott Sansby. Andy was in The Family Stone for the albums Life and Small Talk. His work on Life in particular is very notable, very funky drummer. Scott Sansby was a guy that was working with DJ Rogers at the time and doesn't have a ton of credits, but is playing real good on this record. And then we also have a couple appearances from Clarence McDonald on clavinet and electric piano. He was a session player and songwriting legend who wrote the song Lovely Day for Bill Withers. And then
Classic song.
Yeah. On background vocals for one track, we have Maxanne Lewis, who was from the band Maxanne, which later became known as Mondre. Another Dollar Bin favorite that we will definitely feature. And you also have Keith Hatchell on bass, and I think one track on here. And that's most of the lineup, aside from the strings and horn section. You guys want to hear another song?
Yes.
I think
All right,
so.
We're gonna play the song Rudy Poot. You guys know what that means?
Yeah. I don't, but this song is awesome.
This song is awesome, and the title is an outdated slang term that I had to Google.
Oh.
Rudy Poot is a outdated AAVE term that basically just means an idiot.
What's AAVE mean?
African American vernacular
English.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually a male and just someone who is generally incompetent or a fool. They're Rudy Poot. So
I hate the title less now knowing that. I just thought it was like a gross sounding word, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, when I first heard that, I was like, I don't like that. It just sounds dumb. But this song slaps, and I looked it up.
It's
and
supposed
to
sound dumb. That's what it means.
Yeah, no, it all makes sense. It connects now. All right, this is side 2, track 2.
In
That is a jammer. I love the rhythmic elements going on. This is where I take back my lyric thing, though, just for that one word, because even just hearing it again, I'm like, I just don't like how that word sounds.
Yeah.
Not a big Poot fan. Interesting.
Not a Poot fan, I guess. Rudy's fine.
Put them together, though, Jeremy's out. And for that reason, Jeremy's out.
Yeah. I mean, it probably kept people in check. They didn't want to get called that and have to hear that terrible combination of words.
Fair. Great piano work on that one, though.
I wanted to call attention to that, too. Like, she's not faking it on piano. Like, she could have just been the pianist on this record. She's killing it on that track.
Yeah, I hadn't really looked into the credits beforehand, and it adds a whole new level to it, knowing that she's on the piano as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's just got that gospel energy. It's got those gospel chops, but it's something her own. And, you got to think of the Aretha Franklin comparisons, but she's still got something different while still being able to belt it out almost just as good as Aretha, honestly.
I might prefer Mary's belt, honestly. I really like how she doesn't do it a lot in this album, and when she does, it feels really honest. And at times there's this like growl she goes into when she's belting that just gives me like shivers.
Yeah. You get the feeling like she only does it if she's feeling it, Like that wasn't written into the song. The performance was just that good that it called for it.
Yeah, it didn't feel like, trying to show off vocally or anything. Like she was in it.
It's it may help that she is the writer of the songs. It feels like her vocal performances are in service to the song, not being overly acrobatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely tell on some songs. Like, I bet the artist only heard these songs recently when the songwriter dropped it off and taught it to him, but this album feels a little more lived in.
For sure.
And like I said, that studio vibe had to have just been great. These were all friends. It was a cool studio. The space sounds awesome. Like, it must have been great for the sessions. So let's finish out this Mary bio. She followed this album up with her second album, Jezebel, in 1974, this time produced by Leon Russell. As I said, it's really good. It's even more varied. I don't have that one yet, so I haven't spent as much time with it, but worth picking up for sure. She is prominently featured on backup vocals on Leon Russell's 1975 album, Will o' the Wisp, and the two were married in 1975 and released the wedding album as Leon and Mary Russell in early 1976. You can also see a performance of one of the singles from that album on an episode of Saturday Night Live from like late spring of 76.
Oh yeah, that's like pretty much towards the beginning of Saturday Night Live.
That might have been first season, I think.
It would have been.
In interviews during the time, Leon would freely admit that he thought Mary was more talented than him. And for a while, there was a concerted effort to really push her as a solo artist, or at least it appeared that there was. I even found an account of a Leon Russell fan who saw him in concert around this time and was very disappointed and felt like he was tricked into attending a Mary Russell concert instead of Leon Russell, who he thought he was going to see. So like she was out there. He was trying to put the spotlight on her, and don't know why it didn't work. She had the talent. Some things just don't happen.
Well, how, I don't know if you would have looked into this in your research, Sean, since you were focusing on Mary. I know Leon Russell is a known entity, but how big was he as an artist at the time?
At the time, Leon was probably about as big as he ever was, from what I understand. Like, he had released a string of very successful records. He was known as a huge concert draw. I wish I had this information in front of me. Like I said, eventually we'll do a Leon episode and we can get all the facts right. But I think at one point he was listed as like the top touring artist of that year shortly before this. So he was a big deal. People knew about Leon Russell at this time.
Yeah, when Leon Russell passed away about 6 years ago, it was definitely a big deal to people 20 plus years older than myself, like born around like 1960 or so. He was someone who they remembered as being a big deal when they were young, but it didn't seem to carry over. He's not someone I heard people talking about much anymore.
Yeah, in my brief research and looking through a few forums related to the Wedding album, it seems that like most Leon Russell fans kind of regard that as the beginning of the end for him. Like it caps off a string of really good records. People have mixed opinions about it, and then a few of the records he did shortly after that are pretty reviled, and he never hit the same peak of fame. And it seems like not too long after this was kind of just a forgotten artist himself for a lot of people. But he had a loyal fan base for the heads who knew about Leon Russell.
Yeah, there was a time where, this is going to sound silly, but I think there was a time where I mixed up Leon Russell and Leon Redbone.
Ooh, another one of my favorites who we absolutely must feature soon.
Yeah, that should definitely happen. We got Leon.
Are you more of a Leon Russell or a Leon Redbone fan, Peter?
I probably...
Who's your favorite Leon?
I guess we'll have to feature both, and I'll find out, and I will report back, because I know a handful of songs by both, but, and a little bit of material.
Well, whenever one of us selects a Leon Russell or Redbone, we'll have to make sure the following week is the other artist so we can do an A-B comparison.
Ooh.
The Leon.
Yep. All right. Cool.
The Leon battle.
The battle for the ages. Choose your favorite Leon. Okay, so Leon and Mary Russell released a follow-up album in 1977 called Make Love to the Music. It is pretty much universally regarded as not nearly as good as the first one. And then Leon also played on Mary's third solo album, Heart of Fire, which I believe Mary wrote and produced pretty much all of again. I haven't spent as much time with that one as well. It's not impressed me very much, but I'm sure there's some moments that I will dig into when I actually track down a copy. And then the two were divorced in 1980. They were married for just 5 years. Not a lot of information, but from what I could tell, it was a pretty messy divorce. And I only know that because after finding some interviews with their son, I learned that when they divorced, Mary took the kids and did not allow Leon to see them for about 10 years.
Did either of them go on to make a good post-divorce album?
I saw it referenced that some of Leon's records after this are talking about missing her and it's like unrequited love kind of thing. And, maybe that was part of the reason why his records weren't very good. Maybe he was in a bad place and not a nice person at that point. I don't know, because there's just not a lot of information. But I do know that not allowing your ex to see kids for 10 years is a rather extreme stance. So something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's a reason we can't find much information.
Yeah, for real. There's something else going on. And it definitely seems that Mary was a very private person, and Leon, from the interviews that I could find, seemed reluctant to talk about this stuff too much.
Was the third Mary solo album the last one she did?
No. And after the divorce, Mary went back to using her original last name, Rand, and she self-released a gospel album in 2005 called Still Together, and another in 2015 called Love and Praise, which, as far as I can tell, you can only purchase from her or her website, if you can even do it from there anymore. Maybe it's somewhere else as well, but neither of those are listed on Discogs. It seems like they're a pretty small private press CD kind of thing. But she's still out there working in some small capacity. I found an old website of hers that hasn't been updated in a minute. She's got a Facebook page that has been updated very infrequently, and not a lot of presence aside from that. So if Mary ever hears this, we love your music. We'd love to know more. If you want to fill us in on any of the details of your wonderful career,
email us at idbuythatpodcast@gmail.com.
Well, now I'm excited. I hope we get an email.
It's happened
multiple times
now.
Yeah.
So every so often.
Never know. And yeah, I'm just so curious, like there's obviously tons of stories of someone who wanted to get famous and just the stars never aligned for whatever reason. And there's also tons of examples of people who just didn't have the personality or ego to like hit that level of fame. You know, it could have been any of those options for Mary. I'm not sure, but the lack of interview and just the general presence that I could find of her online definitely makes it seem like she's kind of more of a reserved private person that maybe wasn't built for huge pop stardom. Who knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't, not everyone wants three guys from Michigan talking about them on a podcast. I'm sorry, Sean. Two guys from Michigan and one transplant to Philadelphia.
Yeah. I'm a Philadelphia local now. Don't you forget it.
Still from Michigan in my heart.
Yeah, but I don't want to be hassled anymore. I'm a local.
Valid. He is local. Please do not hassle Sean Hartman when you see him on the streets.
Thank you.
Well, I think it is time for us to talk about some recommended similar albums. And Sean, if you don't mind, I might throw one in before you this time.
Before? What? Not only do you steal Jeremy's thunder of introducing the recommended if you like segment, but you're going to start it off with this is a major upset. This is new year, new Peter over here. I love it.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year, by the way, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
2023, best year yet.
I'm here for this new Peter, actually.
Taking charge, leading the charge.
Yeah.
Let's go. What's the album, Peter?
Well, it's one that we've talked about previously, and that would be Roberta Flack's Feel Like Making Love.
Of course, you took one of my 3 picks.
I kind of thought that might happen.
That's why you wanted to go first. Okay.
Wow, full power play this year, Peter. I like it.
Damn,
Yeah.
Are you going to do your fake title first in the next episode? Like, what's next in New Year, New Peter?
Welcome to I'd Buy That for $1, a podcast about inexpensive, common, and underappreciated records that are waiting to be rediscovered. I'm your host and only host, Peter Cook.
Oh,
Yeah, it needs some work. I've heard better.
You've done it like 160 plus times.
Yeah,
so-
and I haven't started screwing up on it until recently. What is that? I guess it's time for a new change. I'm slacking. I've gotten too comfortable in my position.
Yep, watch the throne.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to read off my 2 recommended albums now. First up, David T. Walker, Press On, also from 1973. Got a handful of the same session players on it. Is just an incredible record. Everyone should listen to David T. Walker. He's the best. End of story.
Yeah. And he was on that Cheryl Lynn album, by the way. I looked it up.
Oh, nice. Cool. I wonder how many times we've actually heard his work on featured albums. It's got to be a few at this point.
Yeah. He's come up a number of times, I feel like.
All right. And my other recommended album is Marion Williams. The album is called Standing Here, Wondering Which Way to Go. Came out in 1971. For those who are not familiar, Marion was a gospel music legend who by 1971 was over 25 years into her career and recorded a record with Bernard Purdy on drums, Keith Jarrett and Joe Zawinul on piano of all people, and a few other surprise players. And the album is also mostly pop and folk covers, like a Pete Seeger cover on there, and it's just a great record, pretty cheap. And that's the gospel comparison, the female-led gospel music from the Dollar Bin suggestion. And then, go buy that Roberta Flack record because it's awesome.
And check out the episode.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Well, did you have anything else regarding Mary?
I think we did it. Let me just quickly skim my notes, make sure I didn't forget anything important. Doesn't look like it. Heavenly Tones, grew up singing in church. Okay, we're good.
All right. Fantastic. Well, yeah, this is, I will say, this album really is wonderful. I think it's a classic album that's really waiting to be rediscovered. I mean, we always, in theory, that's what we're always doing with this show. But this one, I really, this is a candidate for one that should be better known.
Cool. I'm really happy that you think that, because honestly, when I wrote my elevator pitch, part of me was like, are they just going to argue with me about it? Are they going to be like, well, minor masterpiece, there's a few good songs, dude, chill out.
No, and I think it's only about half an hour so long, so I don't think there's no fluff.
No fat to trim.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, it's a great record all the way through. If you don't mind the religious gospel overtones at time. And yeah, I love this album, love this artist. I've got more records to pick up from her, and hopefully many of our listeners are now fans and will be checking it out soon too. Maybe the wedding album will be worth $3 someday instead of the $1 that it seems to forever be sold at.
Well, I look forward to talking about Leon Russell and Leon Redbone sometime down the road here, but I'm
We
glad
might have
that
to do that soon. I'm kind of excited about that, honestly.
Yeah, I think our listeners are ready for that too. And but it was very wise to give Mary the spotlight here, Sean. So let me just commend you on that.
Oh, thank you. I accept your commendation.
Well, let's be done with this episode and enjoy 2023 now.
Yeah, what are we leaving on, Sean? What song?
We're going to go out on the title track, Butterflies in Heaven, Side 2, Track 1.
Butterfly kisses at night
In heaven.
in heaven.
I thought one of us was going to go to the Reading Rainbow theme.
Like, it's got to be you. Go for it. Take it away, Peter.
Peter.
Thank you for listening to I'd Buy That for $1. My name is Peter Cook.
I'm co-host Jeremy.
I'm co-host Sean.